land. Booyah. We have a massive update, a huge story. Another political leader is taken out. This is opening up and will open up a guaranteed larger regional World War III event in the Middle East, just like we have predicted. We've told all of you to get ready, get your money out of the banks. Hyperinflation is now rampant all over the West. In fact, we got numbers coming out from Europe just a couple hours ago, higher than expected. And now this is Israel and the United States, which is backing it directly, not to mention the wars in Ukraine, which we also predicted would open up World War III, has now grown into a larger regional, imminent, massive conflict, of which I believe Iran will hit the West hard, God forbid, in the coming hours. So we have a very large Hamas political leader who was taken out just hours ago. This is the second leader that has been taken out just within hours, and this is humiliating to Iran, and I'm going to tell you why. They will strike, in my view, and they will hit hard. We must get ready worldwide. We must pray for all nations, all people, of course, in the name of God and in the name of Jesus Christ, because this has opened up a biblical conflict that we have never seen before. Let's get into this story and a whole lot more. Please like and share. Yes, Brad, we do need your prayers. And I do believe that this will lead to a nuclear conflict. Again, I've talked about this for some time, to keep your eyes on Europe. That's where I think the event will take place. Now, we're seeing this all across the fake news, CNN, Fox News. Notice, and I tweeted this earlier, you should be following me on Twitter at AMTV Media. Where's Joe Biden? Joe Biden is still technically the president of the United States. Where is he? I haven't seen any images. I haven't seen any video. I haven't seen any speeches. In fact, the only coverage now is of Kamala. Isn't this interesting? Joe Biden has been removed, just like we said, from the White House. Where is Joe Biden? Joe is still technically the U.S. president, but he is nowhere to be found, proving that the president actually isn't in control of these events, that these events are transpiring by other global power structures that are really in charge of this opening wider conflict, which, by the way, they're pushing us into World War III right before Donald Trump gets into the White House, just like I've warned. Again, they will open up not just economic collapse, not just bank runs in the United States, confiscation of your real wealth, hyperinflation in the USA and in Europe, but they're also going to open up war. Iran is now planning how it will respond to this heinous act that just took place in and on Iranian soil in Tehran. This took out this very prevalent Hamas leader as well as his bodyguard. He was, of course, taken out in the capital of Tehran, according to reports in Iranian state media. It's also important to note that I believe that what happened to the last Iranian president was also a cover-up. I believe he was taken out in that helicopter. That's my opinion. I don't think the helicopter just went down in the fog, and I told you that from day one, that was another covert operation by Western powers that are currently at war, that are now bringing the United States, and more importantly, your kids, to war with Lebanon, to war with Iran, not just war in Ukraine, not just war in Gaza, but it's going to open up a multi-pronged conflagration, worst case World War III event that, God forbid, will come back to haunt the United States on domestic soil. And I think you know what I mean by that. Again, Iran has proxies all over the world, especially in the United States of America. And I believe that they will use them, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, again, your leaders have kept the borders wide open intentionally. That's what they designed. That's what they want. You know, they keep telling you to stay safe, but the truth is you're not safe at all. Your borders have been wide open. People have been coming in. They are ready. The United States is at war with all these other countries. And guess what? There's repercussions to your political leadership's advancement in these parts of the world and these heinous acts. So we see again mainstream news is reporting on this. Now, this is also very humiliating for Iran, which is why they're going to hit very, very hard. They're going to crush the West after this, ladies and gentlemen, because it happened on the reinstatement of the new Iranian president. Again, we just had the other leader who went down in the mysterious, curious, and all too convenient helicopter crash because they said the weather. Yeah, kind of reminds me of SEAL Team 6. Kind of reminds me of all the other lies that are spewed to us on a daily basis, which we know are untruths and not real. So I can't use the word, but they took this guy out by force. There was another individual who was also taken out by force. So what does this mean? This means Iran will respond. Now, keep in mind, both Russia and China, arguably the world's most powerful countries in the world, I want to remind you that Russia is winning in Ukraine. The United States is losing. Russia is winning in Ukraine. All your money is being spent for no reason. It's taxing your kids. They're not even taking care of our own infrastructure in the USA, but they're dropping billions in a failed war in Ukraine. I want you to keep this in mind. And so this is building up to the perfect scapegoat for the economic financial collapse in the United States. Again, stock market's a Ponzi scheme. It's going to go to zero. Expect every stock and bank account to crash in the United States. Expect bank runs. Expect your ATMs to not work, especially as they're moving into the digital reset of Bitcoin, blockchain, and now crypto, which I've been warning and telling you to invest in for a very, very long time because it's the plan. Again, we always knew BlackRock was going to get into Bitcoin. I knew that 10 years ago. I always knew that they were scamming all of you. I always knew when they told you not to buy Bitcoin that they were lying to you. That's what I told you. I always knew when these political figures said, no, they prefer the US dollar and that Bitcoin is a scam. I told you they were lying. And then eventually they'd screw you out of all of your wealth, take you to war, and eventually endorse it, which is exactly what they're doing. And I'm telling you that the World War III event has officially erupted. Ladies and gentlemen, have you shared this video yet? Are you getting this critical update and this information out to the viewing public? Do you have freaking food and water? You're gonna need at least 6 months to a year of food and water, ladies and gentlemen. Get your preps now. And so we see the Qatari Prime Minister respond. China's leadership, Xi Jinping, condemn the event. Russia is now moving. We've seen more military escalation in places like Alaska. I keep telling you to diversify your assets, get your money out of the banks, look to internationalize yourself, form communities that are focused on Jesus Christ first, with real action that protect you and your families, that protect your money, and more importantly, is saving souls. Here at the Digital Noah's Ark. Now, we see this breaking across all major news wires, not just CNN, but Fox News, MSNBC. It's the headline story. But again, the big event hasn't happened yet. So I want you to think about the tactics, the counter moves that Iran potentially will use. This includes electromagnetic pulses bringing down the entire United States electrical financial grid. This includes other things in our skies, which I'm not allowed to talk about. That's why Donald Trump instituted the Space Force. It's a new branch of top secret military industrial complex war technology. I believe that the next event will be cyberkinetic. It will be asymmetric. It will bring down and target food supply in the United States. It will target shipping cargo, transportation, trains, moving goods and shipments in and out of your city, your vehicle, which can be decapitated by an EMP strike electromagnetic pulse along the electromagnetic spectrum, which I've taught entire courses on, warning you of what would come next over a decade ago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a critical emergency warning update. Biden, breaking news, is now responding, coming out of the gutter after being trashed by the deep state and the radical left hosing him, and then installing Kamala temporarily without a vote. Think about this. Kamala's like running things now. She's not even the president. No one even voted for her. They're telling us that they're worried about coups in Venezuela. Looks like we just had one in the United States of America, for crying out loud. We could care less about Venezuelan politics. We care about America. And Biden now as he sits on embers on his way out into a geriatric retirement home, of which he will have a full-time staff of critical care to treat his Parkinson's disease and dementia, as he probably enters hospice very, very soon. Again, the United States has had someone in power who needs to be in hospice care. That's how bad it is. But again, it's the design to place an empty vessel into the United States, to collapse everything, usher in World War III. As soon as Trump is placed and gets into the White House, World War III have already erupted. The economic, financial collapse will be blamed on him. Americans will be panicking quite literally as a result of the economic, financial, capital controls that are coming to the United States of America. Now Biden says this. It's not really Biden, it's just the administration here. It says, former intelligence officer says Israel is not messing around. So Israel appears to be claiming responsibility for taking out and targeting this leader, just whacking him in broad daylight in Tehran. And I'm just pointing out, again, there's no rule of law when it comes to war, folks. There's no legality or anything. They just do whatever they want. They just drop projectiles on your forehead. That's what the United States does. That's what Western governments do. That's what all governments do. So I just want you to understand this. There are no rules. You are at war. Okay, and there will be no rules in bringing down the grid in the United States of America as well when it happens. I'm not the only one that's been warning about this. I've been warning about this, of course, for years, an entire generation now. But now that we see the events kick off, not just with the leveling of Gaza, but now a full-blown conflict that's about to erupt in Lebanon. We did see Israel strike Lebanese territory just within the 48 hours in the last couple of days. Keep in mind, I'm a day ahead here in Thailand, booyah, completely exiting out the system and, of course, buying luxury real estate for all of our members outside of the banks prior to the collapse, prior to World War III, and prior to the bank runs to protect all of our assets and grow those assets during the blockchain transition and the CBDC reset. We're going to profit immensely. This is what we're doing, of course, at the Digital Noah's Ark, 1,000 freaking X to the moon. But Israel, which is now being blamed for this event, says that they're not messing around. And the individual who was a huge figure, had an estimated net worth of near $4 billion, was taken out on Tehran's soil, which is a very big blow to Iran leadership. So I want you to keep this in mind. They already had their president go down in a mysterious helicopter crash, which they say was an accident. But I think we know it wasn't an accident. Now, on the day of the new inauguration of the new president, 2 other leaders get taken out. Now, this individual, I'm not saying he was a good person or anything like that. He was, of course, in charge of war efforts as a part of Hamas and other entities overseas. But there's always 2 sides to every story. Again, Israel has their side, Gaza has their side. Israel has their opinions, Palestine has their opinions. Iran has their own side of the story, just like China, just like Russia. My question for you is, do you trust your American leadership? Because I don't. I don't trust a darn thing coming out of Washington, D.C.'s dirty mouth, and nor should you. So I don't just go along with the official narrative just because Fox News and CNN and the fake news and the latest hijacked fake alt media pundits tell me something. So this is going to be a massive, massive blow, which I believe will escalate, send the economy into ruins. If you think what's happening in Venezuela is bad, wait until the same thing happens in the United States. We are Venezuela, ladies and gentlemen. We are Zimbabwe. Our currency has imploded. This is the equivalent of the Argentine peso going to zero. The truth is, most Americans just don't realize that they're being stolen from by the criminal cabal elites. See, inflation is a silent event. And people living on credit and debt and credit cards and mortgages don't realize that their real wealth has already been stolen from them by the financial elites. That's why it's so important to move your money outside of the system before this trauma hits. Obviously, we're in a very contentious selection process as well with Donald T. I'll say his name. If I even mention his name, it goes into the algorithms. But this is very, very contentious right now. We've seen all the host of events that have happened in recent days. So, critical report, ladies and gentlemen. Please like and share. We have just had a major Hamas Middle Eastern leader taken out in the heart of Tehran, and this is your moment to really get ready and be prepared. I do want to do a shout out to a few individuals. David Lee, you know who you are. Just filled out an amazing app at islandproject.com. He's coming in with his first 30 units into our world-class project. I want to commend you, sir, for onboarding the digital Noah's Ark. You truly are the resistance. David Lee coming into the project. We also have several other individuals. Jim D coming in to islandproject.com as well. Just about a half hour ago, onboarding with his first $60,000, 60 units, 60 grand coming into islandproject.com, moving his money out of the banks. Ladies and gentlemen, my dad and I are working around the clock. Papa John's been on the phone 24/7 over the last several days at a critical moment while and during World War III opening up. Are you ready? Are you stacking food? Have you patronized our amazing Christian-based sponsor, USASurvival.com, and bought at least 6 to 12 months food and water? Do that now. Click the link below. Have you onboarded the Ark at islandproject.com? Are you in yet before the panic strikes? The U.S. national debt is now an astonishing 35 trillion bankrupt dollars in the United States. The United States has now sunk into hyperinflationary oblivion. It is over for the United States of America. The debt is now out of control, and it will never be paid back in your lifetime. What they will do, however, is reset the system into UBI, CBDCs, as they bankrupt every single American into a hyperinflationary collapse. The average debt load for a newborn baby in the United States per citizen is over 100 grand now. When you have a child, they are in debt from the moment they are born. They are born into a hyperinflationary environment here in the United States, a debt that can never, ever be paid back. Where criminals on Wall Street continue to get away with what they've been perpetrating to the American people, their bailout scams, their manipulation of interest rates, Federal Reserve policy, which is a private bank and not publicly elected in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your time to act. I encourage you to onboard now the digital Noah's Ark while World War III blows up in your face. Iran will respond. Iran will move next. Their proxies are not just able to make asymmetric moves, but this key figure was also an interlocutor, if I'm saying that correctly, and a proxy, so to speak, for the war and what's going on in Israel. This means no peace. And I tell you this all the time. When they say peace, they mean war. When they tell you be safe, you shouldn't be anything but safe. That means you're unsafe. No peace will now come to the Middle East ever. Now that this attack has taken place, Americans must be prepared to go fight on the front lines and know that if you support your corrupt leadership in Washington, D.C., you are sending your children to fight and you know what on the front lines. I will not have any part of that, nor will the resistance. We will continue to build the new America in 1776 fashion. Did you know, for example, that the founding fathers were libertarians like myself? They weren't Republicans and they weren't Democrats. They weren't on the right or left. They were die-hard libertarians. They sacrificed everything so you could be free, so you could get Bitcoin rich, ladies and gentlemen, which is why it is a duty to become Bitcoin rich. It is a duty to get into islandproject.com. That's right, Joshua. Most Americans are debt slaves. Now, on the bright side, Bitcoin is mainstreaming. Trump is endorsing it. The entire establishment is moving in. BlackRock is buying and now owns almost all of it. All of the major brokers are moving in. Everyone that owns Wall Street and the S&P 500, this includes Vanguard and State Street, are now actively buying as much Bitcoin as possible before the economic collapse. And this is what I've been telling you for years. And this is your moment to execute at the link below at islandproject.com. So amazing, folks. It is such an honor. Shout out to Kyle as well, just onboarded with 50 units earlier this morning. You know who you are. Jim came in with over 100K into islandproject.com after speaking with my father earlier this morning as well. David rolled in with his first 30K. I know he worked really hard to get in. Also, Brian came in with crypto, came in with about 150K earlier today, used Bitcoin to onboard the project. Because again, you want to be outside of the system. You want your money outside of the banks. You want to be prepped for the World War III events coming. You want food and you want water. You want to be executing with the link below at usasurvival.com. Support yourself. Support a good cause. Support the Patriot movement. Get 6 months, 12 months worth of food. I'll add a link in a minute. Our amazing Christian sponsors that sponsor this platform here at AMTV care about you, love you. They would never, ever blaspheme the name of Jesus, for example, at the Olympics, like all these other major Fortune 100 companies that hate your guts. Again, there's been almost no sponsors that have pulled out, proving the point they don't like you, and you are at economic, financial, spiritual war with principalities and dark forces. And I sit here today as General Greene of islandproject.com presenting this huge warning. This is the next major event. What's going on with Mr. T-Man, we'll say, and the others is the least of your concerns. What you should be warning about is not only your protection and safety during the coming days ahead, but your economic, financial prosperity and ability to protect you and your families. If you're a baby boomer, I'm assuming you've worked your entire life to protect your money, to move it into what is quote unquote safe assets. And I'm telling you, your money is not safe in the US stock market. Move your money out of the banks now. Ray Dalio, a billionaire of Bridgewater and Associates, warns of bank runs and capital controls. He's been warning for years, as I have, and many smart individuals, warning of the coming disruption and economic, financial, World War III hyperinflationary collapse that we now have. Time is short. I love you all. Links below. Please like and share. I am the General. That's islandproject.com. Read our terms and disclaimer. Onboard your first 30 units today. Become a proud owner member of our diversified, exclusive host of properties now worldwide in Maui, Oahu, Park City, Deer Valley, Utah, now Thailand, soon to be Bali, Booyah, Singapore, Dubai, and a host of other nation states as we build a diversified portfolio that is the ark and the safe haven, but also the profit center and the 1000x upside prior to token launch that has been commanded by the Lord God, who has warned me and all of you are being warned today of the coming World War III event and proxies being unleashed all across, I fear, in the westernized world. This will bring down the grid in the United States. Major American cities will go dark. Get food. Get water. Move your money out of the banks. And onboard today at islandproject.com.